The Yankees knew a curveball was coming, but Lance McCullers Jr. kept throwing it until Houston had a pennant. This is Astro 71, the Lance McCullers Jr. episode. It's Game 7 of the 2017 ALCS, October 21st at Minute Maid Park. The winner goes to LA to face the Dodgers in the World Series, and the loser goes home. Houston won 101 games, and New York won 91. The Astros took the first two games of this series at home, both by 2-1 scores. Then the whole thing turned in the Bronx. The Yankees won 3 straight, including a Game 4 comeback in which Houston's bullpen wasted a 4-0 lead. The Astros returned home needing 2 wins. Justin Verlander delivered the first in Game 6. Now, Charlie Morton would start Game 7 with essentially every other arm available behind him in the bullpen. This was Houston's first chance to reach its first World Series since 2005 and claim its first AL pennant just 4 years after losing 111 games. It was also happening in a city that was still recovering from Hurricane Harvey. And how do you carry all of that into one baseball game without letting it crush you? Well, you reduce it. 1 pitch, 1 out, then another. Lance Gray McCullers Jr. was born October 2nd, 1993, in Tampa. He already had professional baseball sitting in his family history. His dad, the first Lance McCullers Sr., pitched 7 major league seasons. Serendipity, father and son were both chosen with the 41st overall picks in their respective drafts, 30 years apart. Lance Sr. in 82 and Lance Jr. in 2012. At Jesuit High School in Tampa, McCullers became one of the country's most decorated pitchers, the amateur variety. He earned Major National Player of the Year honors in 2011 and 2012. Houston signed him for $2.5 million. Carlos Correa had gone first overall in that same draft, and McCullers came later, but he carried the kind of arm that could change the direction of a farm system. He moved through the minors with electric stuff and occasional command trouble. But he wasn't just wild power. He had 1 pitch that could reorganize a plate appearance. His curveball came in hard, often in the low 80s, with sharp drop and violent spin. Some people called it a knuckle curve. Others called it a spike curve. Hitters just called it unfair. McCullers debuted for Houston on May 18th, 2015, at the age of 21. He didn't need a single AAA appearance before the Astros decided his arm was ready. Later that year, he became the youngest pitcher in franchise history to start a postseason game. By 2017, he reached his first All-Star game, and at 23, he was the second youngest Astros pitcher ever selected, behind only Larry Dierker. He finished the regular season 7-4 with a 4.25 earned run average. But injuries interrupted his rhythm. Back discomfort led him to the disabled list, and he didn't make another regular season start after September 6th. 4 days before Game 7, McCullers started Game 4 at Yankee Stadium. He carried a 2-hit shutout into the 7th. Then Aaron Judge homered, and McCullers left with Houston ahead, but the bullpen lost the lead. But LMJ proved something important. The Yankees hadn't solved him. There's a small moon inside Saturn's rings named Pan. It's about 17 miles across, and material collected around its equator until it started looking less like a sphere and more like a floating ravioli moving through space. And that has nothing to do with baseball, except maybe Pan spins through a gap in Saturn's rings, while McCullers' curveballs seemed to spin through a gap in the laws of pitching. Both look slightly impossible, but both of them are real. Charlie Morton opened the game as if he had somewhere better to be. He struck out Brett Gardner on 3 pitches, then retired Aaron Judge and Didi Gregorius. Through 4 innings, Morton had allowed 1 hit and thrown only 36 pitches. Houston kept putting runners on base against CC Sabathia, but they couldn't score, stranding threats in each of the first 3 innings. Then Evan Gattis led off the 4th. Sabathia threw him a 1-2 pitch, and Gattis drove it 405 feet into the left center field bleachers. Houston finally had a 1-0 lead, and could one run possibly survive a Game 7? Greg Bird opened the Yankees' 5th with a double and reached third on a wild pitch. After Morton struck out Starlin Castro, he walked Aaron Hicks. Todd Frazier chopped a slow roller towards third. Alex Bregman charged it, and he could have taken the easy out at first. Instead, he fired home while moving towards the line. Brian McCann caught the throw and held the ball through Bird's slide out at the plate. Then Morton got Chase Headley to end the inning. The bottom of the 5th changed the temperature of the building. Jose Altuve drove a Tommy Kahnle fastball over the right field wall. Carlos Correa singled, Yuli Gurriel followed with another hit, and McCann doubled them both home, and now it was 4-0. At that point, it felt like the story had resolved itself. Houston finally started hitting, Morton survived the danger, and the bullpen only needed to protect a pretty comfortable lead. And that's almost what happened. But the pitcher who entered next turned the ending into the part that everybody remembers. Lance McCullers came out for the 6th. Gardner singled, bringing Judge to the plate with nobody out. McCullers got Judge to foul out to Bregman, struck out Gregorius, and forced Gary Sanchez into a ground ball. The 7th was clean. Bird flew out, Castro struck out, and Hicks grounded out. Then McCullers walked Frazier to begin the 8th. He had tried fastballs and 1 changeup, but his delivery didn't feel right after landing awkwardly on his left hip. So he decided to simplify everything. Curveball. Headley struck out. Curveball. Gardner flew out. More curveballs. Judge struck out swinging. McCullers returned for the 9th and never changed the plan. Gregorius struck out, Sanchez struck out, and Bird lifted the final pitch into center field, where George Springer caught it. Pennant. McCullers threw 54 pitches, 41 curveballs. His final 24 pitches were all curveballs, and everybody knew what was coming. And what would you throw in that situation? Would you try to surprise them, or just keep giving them the pitch that they proved they couldn't hit already? McCullers chose certainty. His final line was 4 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, and 6 strikeouts. He earned the first save of his career and became only the 3rd pitcher to record a save of at least 4 innings in a postseason series-clinching game. His 6 strikeouts were the most ever recorded in a postseason save. The clubhouse celebration carried the release of an entire franchise, but McCullers still sounded like a pitcher who wanted another inning. "I did not want to come out of that game," he said. He said he'd been ready to empty the tank if given a chance to finish. A.J. Hinch told McCullers that Morton would start, a decision that McCullers didn't fall in love with, because McCullers wanted Game 7, but Hinch also gave him the opportunity to own the finish, and McCullers accepted that assignment without treating it like a demotion. This wasn't a routine star turn. McCullers was a starter working in relief 4 days after his previous start. He didn't get the first pitch of the night, but he got the last one. Houston faced the Dodgers in a 7-game World Series. McCullers started Game 3 and Game 7. The Astros won the championship in Los Angeles, their first title in franchise history. The Yankees went home 1 victory short. Though Judge won AL Rookie of the Year, and New York returned to October repeatedly. And Houston went on to reach 7 consecutive ALCS rounds through 2023, winning 4 pennants and another championship in 2022. The 2017 title would later be damaged by the sign-stealing scandal, and that can't be removed from the record. But McCullers' 4 innings remain unusually direct. He stood on the mound, the Yankees saw the curveball, and they still couldn't hit it. For a moment, 2017 looked like the beginning of a smooth climb towards permanent ace status, but the climb wasn't real. Smooth wasn't. McCullers went 10-6 with a 3.86 earned run average in 2018, but elbow trouble ended this season. He underwent Tommy John surgery that November and missed all of 2019. He returned in 2020 and produced the best full year of his career in 21. McCullers went 13-5 with a 3.16 earned run average, struck out 185 over 162 innings, and 1/3 inning, and finished 7th in the AL Cy Young Award voting. Houston already signed him to a 5-year, $85 million extension. You know what happened next, though? A flexor injury suffered during the 2021 ALDS kept him out of the rest of that postseason and most of 2022. He returned in August, posted a 2.27 earned run average in 8 starts, then threw 6 scoreless innings in the Astros' 18-inning ALDS victory over Seattle. McCullers earned another ring in 2022, despite a disastrous World Series Game 3 in Philly. Then, more surgery. McCullers had his right flexor tendon repaired in June of 2023. He had a bone spur removed at the same time. He missed all of 2023 and all of 2024. After 915 days away, he returned in May of 2025. The results, they were a little rough. He finished with a 6.51 earned run average over 55 1/3 innings while dealing with several smaller injuries. There were flashes again in 2026, but shoulder inflammation interrupted the campaign. On July 15th, Houston traded McCullers and Colton Gordon to Milwaukee for outfield prospect Jaden Fielder. Yeah. Cecil's grandson, Prince's son. They call him Trey. Less than 2 weeks later, the Brewers released McCullers. And as of August 2nd, 2026, he's a free agent. His career line stands at 53-40 with a 3.85 earned run average. And his next chapter is uncertain. But his place in Astros history isn't. The body interrupted the talent, and the numbers never fully expressed what the arm could do. But one night became permanent. For Lance McCullers Jr., that night ended with 24 straight curveballs. All right, next time, we move from a curveball that couldn't be touched to a defenseman who seemed to see passing lanes before they opened. Blue 22 is Kevin Shattenkirk. Centered on Game 5 of the Blues' first-round series against Minnesota, April 24th, 2015. Shattenkirk had returned from abdominal surgery and was producing offense at an extraordinary rate. But St. Louis was about to discover controlling the puck and controlling the playoff series ain't the same thing. Oh. The Blues had home ice. Shattenkirk was piling up assists. Devon Dubnyk was waiting at the other end. And one of them was about to take command. So from that Game 7, what do you remember most? The final catch? The crowd? Or the fact that McCullers simply refused to throw anything but curveballs? This was Astro 71, Lance McCullers Jr., and one of the strangest closing acts a Game 7 has ever seen. I'm the Wolf. Thanks for stopping by. Maybe I'll see you next time.